Many Eastern European countries in the Slavic region are widely known for having a large number of beautiful women, including Ukraine, Belarus, the 3 Baltic states, and most notably Russia. However, these countries share a common problem. Despite this reputation, many women face serious difficulties when it comes to marriage, simply because there are not enough men. In Russia, there are even half-serious and half-joking opinions suggesting that if this situation continues, polygamy might one day need to be considered. What is particularly notable is that some of these comments come from women themselves. So the fundamental question remains: where have all the Russian men gone? Before moving into the main topic, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications. Russia currently has a population of about 145 million people. In demography, the sex ratio is defined as the number of men per 100 women, and in Russia this figure is 86 men for every 100 women. Across the entire population, this means there are about 11 million fewer men than women. By comparison, the global average sex ratio is about 101.7 men per 100 women, meaning that men slightly outnumber women worldwide. This alone shows how severe the gender imbalance in Russia truly is. In peacetime, there are usually only 2 reasons why a country develops a gender imbalance. One is large-scale migration. The other is an imbalance in birth rates. Sweden, once known as a country with more women, became male-heavy after accepting a large number of Syrian refugees in the year 2015, because most of those refugees were men. Nepal is one of the few Asian countries with more women, due to large numbers of men working overseas. Russia, however, fits neither of these cases. Although some men from former satellite states migrate to Russia for work, Russian men themselves do not leave the country on a large scale. Could it be that Russia culturally prefers daughters and therefore gives birth to more girls? This is also not true. The natural sex ratio at birth is about 105 boys for every 100 girls. This exists to compensate for the shorter life expectancy of men, allowing the ratio to gradually move toward balance over time. Russia has never significantly deviated from this natural pattern. Therefore, Russia's severe gender imbalance must come from another cause. In reality, Russia has been a female-majority country for a long time. The single largest reason is the Second World War. At that time, the Soviet Union had a population of about 190 million people. According to recent Russian studies, the total number of deaths during the war, including civilians, may have reached 27 million. This represented roughly 14% of the population, with the majority being men, including soldiers. What is striking is that even though the generation that experienced the Second World War has almost completely passed away, the gender imbalance has not improved. In Russia, there is a saying that men begin to disappear after the age of 30. By the time they reach 65, the retirement age, fewer than half of Russian men are still alive. In fact, the average life expectancy of Russian men once showed signs of improvement. However, after the COVID-19 pandemic, it fell to 64.7 years. This is about 16 years shorter than men in South Korea, and about 7 years shorter than men in Bangladesh. Globally, women live only about 2 years longer than men on average, but in Russia this gap exceeds 11 years. This is an extremely rare phenomenon. Other Eastern European and Baltic countries also show larger than average gaps in male and female life expectancy, although none are as severe as Russia. Russia stands out because Russian men begin dying at significantly higher rates starting around the age of 30. From that point onward, many are placed in environments that directly threaten their lives. According to most studies, the leading cause is alcohol, especially vodka with an alcohol concentration of about 40%. In Russia, there is a saying that temperatures below -40 are not considered cold, and alcohol below 40% is not considered alcohol. This reflects the harshness of Russian winters. To cope with the cold, drinking strong vodka to warm the body became a long-standing tradition. Russian men often say they could live without garlic, but not without vodka. Vodka was originally a privilege of the royal class. However, since the time of Peter the Great in the 17th century, it spread widely among the general population and has continued to this day. The problem is not vodka itself, but how much is consumed. Average alcohol consumption in Russia is about 18 liters per person per year, the highest level in the world. This is more than twice the level seen in many other countries. The World Health Organization warns that consuming more than 8 liters of alcohol per year can be life-threatening. Each additional liter beyond this level may reduce male life expectancy by about 11 months. According to the British Medical Journal, in the year 2014, 1 out of every 4 Russian men died before the age of 55 due to excessive drinking. When alcohol-related diseases and traffic accidents are included, Russia records about 500,000 alcohol-related deaths each year. The World Health Organization also reports that about 1/3 of Russian men show signs of alcohol dependence. In addition, about 80% of teenagers have consumed alcohol. Smoking is the next major factor reducing the life expectancy of Russian men. Although there has been some improvement, during the 2010s Russia had one of the highest smoking rates in the world. About half of all adults smoked, and more than 65% of men were smokers. At one point, smoking rates among male teenagers in Moscow reached 73%. Approximately 17% of all deaths in Russia are linked to smoking, equivalent to about 400,000 deaths per year. Traffic accidents are another major cause that cannot be ignored. Poor infrastructure and aggressive driving habits once placed Russia at the top of global traffic fatality rankings. Until the middle of the 2010s, Russia recorded about 939 deaths per 1 million vehicles each year. More than 20,000 people died annually. Neglect of personal health also plays a significant role. About 60% of the Russian population is overweight, and 25% is obese. Economic inequality pushes many people toward cheap but unhealthy food. In addition, a culture that values risk-taking and endurance, shaped by a long history of warfare, encourages behaviors such as heavy drinking, smoking, and dangerous driving. These behaviors further increase accidents and deaths. More recently, the war in Ukraine has made the situation even worse. Russian military casualties are estimated to have reached about 200,000 people. At the same time, as many as 1 million Russian men may have left the country to avoid conscription. About 10% of them were workers in the information technology sector. This represents a serious brain drain. War and economic hardship have driven people to consume even more vodka, leading to further alcohol-related diseases and accidents. For these reasons, the gender imbalance in Russia is likely to persist for a very long time. What is your opinion for this issue?